Hi everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo. And now I am up to question number 8 with Robert Z's Lottery. And question number 8 has to do with what I think about or how I define or what the word grail means to me. And, I agree with Steve Carlson. A grail is like there's just one. So if you have the grail, you have it, and no one else can have it. And it has sort of turned into this word to mean something that is just merely very sought after. But it's not impossible to get. If you're willing to pay, whatever you want is available. It's there for you to find in Discogs. Eventually someone's going to sell it, and if you're willing to pay the price, you can get it. So, and that kind of happened with what I had first considered to be my grail. And that record from my collection was this one. This is Zappa in New York, but this is the original pressing that has Punky's Whips on it. And when this was released, which was 1977, somewhere around 300, maybe 500 copies were sent out to retailers, mostly, I believe, in Europe. I don't think it had been sent out yet in the United States. And then there was this hoo-ha about the song Punky's Whips, which is about a singer with the hair band Angel. If any of you remember Angel, Punky, we're not talking about Punky Brewster, we're talking about Punky Meadows. And excuse me, Terry Bozzio was infatuated with Punky Meadows and his pouty lips and Angel was a hugely popular band in the 80s, and someone's trying to message me while I'm doing this. Sorry for that little distraction. Ding. Anyway, so Frank wrote a song that was about Terry Bozzio's infatuation with Punky Meadows, and Punky Meadows thought it was cool, it was fine. Long story short, the other band members didn't think it was, they didn't like it. They didn't think it was a good idea. And then there may have been some issue between the Frank's record company and Angel's record company. And so there was an order put out to, stop distributing the record. A request went out through the distributor, I believe, to have all the records that were shipped to stores to be sent back. But clearly, not all of them were sent back, and some were sold. And then they reissued in 1977 a different edited version of Zappa in New York that excluded the song Punky's Whips. And it also, I believe, has a somewhat shorter version of Titties and Beer. Anyway, it was a very, very difficult record to find, and it would occasionally crop up, in Discogs, etc., eBay, with a pretty high price tag. There was, I almost paid almost paid $250 for it on eBay. It was an auction, and that was my limit, and I didn't do it correctly. I put my bid in too soon, so there was still like 3 minutes left to the auction ending. And so when I put my bid in, the automatic thing went boom, and then I was the winner with my high bid. And then right at the last second, somebody outbid me by $1. And so I didn't get it. It saved me $250. I did eventually find it from another vendor. Both of these vendors were in Germany. And I bought it from a vendor in Germany with postage and everything. It came out to around $170. So it was a much less expensive purchase for me. So it worked out in that way. But that was a grail for me. This was a grail for me because it was a record that was difficult to find, and I wanted it in my collection. And since then, I've come to realize that, there are no real grails in vinyl collecting. I mean, there's records that you really, really want badly that are very rare or have escalated in price to such a degree that it's nigh, you don't want to pay that price. But it's not impossible to get it. Like Steve Carlson was saying, just because it's expensive and rare doesn't mean that if you got one, you're the only one who has it. Other people can have it too. I think Stunty has a record though that is a true grail, that it was and not even a test pressing, but some record that somebody he knew, they made only like 1 or 2 copies, and they gave him one of them. And then I guess they kept the other one for themselves. So that's probably even the closest to being a grail. But even then, unless the other record was destroyed, there is another record. Okay. But I do still have some records that I would really, really love to have in my collection that are rare, but also just really expensive. They crop up for sale on occasion, and I see them in Discogs. I don't buy much on eBay anymore because eBay sellers, they're less trustworthy than many Discog sellers. But anyway, in my particular grails, so for me a grail now is simply, it's a highly desirable record that is rare, and as a result of it being rare, it is quite expensive. And there are a couple that I would like to have. Most of them have to do with anime soundtracks. And just to give you an example, all right, the Zappa record is from 1977. And you can still, once in a while, you can still get, you'll see it for sale for sometimes less than $200, but usually around $200 or slightly more. The people aren't being too ridiculous about the price. The GTOs, for a while, people were ridiculous about the price of getting a record by the GTOs. Brain Damage, I believe, is the name of the record. And, they wanted $400 for a record in G condition. That price has come down because I think those sellers realize ain't nobody paying $400 for that record, even if it's in VG condition. But anyway, there are some anime soundtracks that I would like to get, but they escalate in price so quickly. And I missed out on getting them at the time of their release. One of them was Death Note, the soundtrack for Death Note. It's a 2020 release. It's already going for $235. But I would love to get the edition that, it's a gatefold and it has the Death Note notebook with it, but every time I see it crop up in Discogs, it's like $230. Another one is the original Evangelion soundtrack, which when it was released on vinyl, it was released in 2015. The original Evangelion series, anime series, is from the 1990s, okay? But then this vinyl release of who is it, Shiro Shigasu, or Shigasu, his music to go with the series. All right, a 2015 two-album release, $700. Man, I would love to have a copy of that, but I'm not paying $700 for it. And then, there's another very rare album I would love to get, and that is this one of Pierre Schaeffer and Guy Rebel. It's called Solfège de l'objet sonore, I think. It's like one of the earliest recordings of Musique Concrète. And it's a 3-album box set that's $190. So that's not too pricey, but still it's kind of pricey. And then there's another single album that right now I don't believe there are any copies for sale, of Pierre Honoré, Pierre Schaeffer, Michel Philippot. It is the Panorama of Musique Concrète #2, and that's a 1957 release. And but that again goes for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So I guess, there are records that, why do I want these records? I didn't find them and go, oh, this record is really rare and expensive, that's why I want it. No, I want it because, well, one, like with the anime soundtracks, I'm a collector of anime, of DVDs and Blu-rays and soundtracks. I would like to get some posters of some of my favorite anime. I've got some manga as well for the books. So the original manga, which was the original drawings, it's like a comic, but yeah, I have some of those. So yeah, I like the genre. I like the medium. I like the artwork. It's fantastic artwork. And some of them, I really like the stories. But yeah, sometimes the recordings of the music that went with the series on television is difficult to find. And I've found some that I've picked up. Studio Ghibli is another example. Even when released brand new, a single record can cost $60. And then they're limited pressings. They do subsequent pressings, but there's always something different about it. It's a rabbit hole. It's a dangerous rabbit hole to fall into. But I like the stuff. I like the artwork. I like the music. I have some, though, that are pure soundtracks. When you play the record, particularly from the Gundam anime series, which is it's a series about giant robots, and although I love the good, they spawned a bunch of different mini series, and one of them is Iron Blooded Orphans. Great storyline. I have that on Blu-ray. But I've never seen anything in terms of the recordings. I have some of the Gundam from the original 1990 series on soundtrack, and what the interesting thing is, sometimes it's music, but a couple of the ones that I have, it's the soundtrack. It is the characters speaking. It's the dialogue. It's not music. And of course, it's all in Japanese. But I have those because the album artwork is freaking amazing. And so I like to collect those. And Gundam records are actually fairly inexpensive. What makes them moderately expensive is the fact that the only place I ever see them for sale is by a vendor in Japan. So I might be buying a record for $10, $12, but I'm going to spend $30 on shipping to get it here. But yeah, so I am one of those people that have loosely used the term grail. I try not to anymore. These are just records I really, really want. And I'm always on the hunt for them. And when I find them and I believe, all right, I'm willing to pay this price, then I will get them. But, geez, I just can't believe how that Evangelion record, it's a 2015 release, and it's going for $700. I'll probably never, ever get one. Unless I get really rich all of a sudden. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on grails, the one that I have. Oh, I do have one other one that I pulled out. This one here, this is a record by Sun Kill Moon, the record Benji. Now, Sun Kill Moon is also, that's another name that Mark Kozelik went by. This was, I guess qualified as a grail for a while, but again, to get an original, they were two pressings, one in blue, one in gold. Again, it was like $160 to $200. And I have it on CD. I'm not really interested in paying that much money for the vinyl. I got it on CD. But then just within the last year, this reissue came out. It was pressed in China, but some US vendors got copies, and I was able to get it for like $30. Beautiful splatter vinyl, and sounds. My pressing is it's imperfect, but by and large, it's just as good as many US and European pressings. It's not a garbage pressing. It's a high quality pressing. But again, this was a situation where, geez, I don't know if I can, a $30 record, and then I'm going to get $30 shipping to get it from China. But it was fantastic when I realized that there were vendors here in the US that had it and were selling it for $30. So that one I got. I don't know if it's escalated in price much, because it's supposed to be a limited release as well. I should probably look that up. But anyway, those are my thoughts on grails. So I try not to use the word anymore, because there really is no such thing as a grail. Whatever record you want, it's out there, and you can get it, provided you're willing to pay the price. Find me on Instagram at newsdude76. That's NEWZDUDE76. I have a Facebook page called Calvin Wazoo that you can see content there as well. Leave a comment in the Down Under. Hey, what do you think about grails? It's a great discussion to have once in a while. Are there any grails that or at least are there any records that are you really, really, really want to get? But you're not really willing to pay the price yet? There's a couple jazz collectors out there who were talking about the grails that they finally got, and they paid like more than $1,000 for a single record. And I'm like, good for you that you have $1,000 to spend on a single record. I don't know how you managed to pull that off, and the fact that you're married. That's because if my spouse just announced to me they just spent $1,000 on something without consulting me, we might not be married very much longer. Anyway, pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.